Parents, what is the worst thing you've ever told your child? When my son Trevor was 14, he came to me with tears in his eyes and told me something that made my blood run cold. He said his stepdad, my husband Gary, had been touching him in ways that weren't right. My boy was shaking as he told me about late-night visits to his room when I was working my nursing shifts. I sat there on our kitchen counter stool, staring at my coffee mug with the little chip on the handle. Trevor was waiting for me to say something, anything. His school backpack was still on his shoulders from when he'd just gotten home. I don't believe you, I finally said. The words came out flat and cold. Trevor's face went white like someone had slapped him. He took a step back from me. Mom, I'm telling the truth. He said if I told anyone, nobody would believe me anyway because you love him more than me. That should have been my wake-up call right there. Instead, I doubled down. Gary is a good man. He works hard to provide for us. You're probably just confused or maybe jealous that I remarried. Don't you ever repeat this lie again. Trevor stared at me for what felt like forever. Then he nodded slowly and walked to his room. I heard his door close, not slam, just close quietly. That should have broken my heart, but I was too busy protecting my perfect little world to notice. Gary came home an hour later with takeout from that Chinese place we liked. I didn't tell him what Trevor had said. I just pretended everything was normal. We watched TV and Gary rubbed my feet like he always did. Over the next few months, Trevor changed completely. He started skipping school, got into fights, came home with bruised knuckles and ripped clothes. Teachers called constantly. I blamed teenage hormones and bad influences at school. Trevor stopped talking to me about anything important. He'd grab food from the kitchen and disappear to his room. When Gary tried to be friendly with him, Trevor would literally leave the house. I thought he was just being difficult. Your son has serious attitude problems, Gary would say while shaking his head. Maybe he needs military school or something. I agreed. I actually agreed with the man who was destroying my child. Trevor started staying at his friend Jake's house most weekends. Jake's mom would call to make sure it was okay, and I'd always say yes. Less drama at home, less tension between Gary and Trevor. I thought I was solving the problem. When Trevor turned 16, he got a part-time job at the grocery store and started saving every penny. He told me he was saving for a car, but he never bought one. He just kept working and saving, working and saving. 2 years later, everything fell apart in one horrible day. Mrs. Kellerman from down the street called me at work. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Her 12-year-old son Ryan had told her that Gary had been molesting him during the times he came over to help with yard work. She'd taken Ryan straight to the police. They'd caught Gary red-handed when they set up a sting operation. He was arrested that same afternoon. I sat in my car outside the police station, hands shaking, unable to process what was happening. My perfect husband, my provider, my second chance at happiness. Then it hit me like a freight train. Trevor, my baby boy. He told me the truth and I'd called him a liar. I drove home and found Trevor in his room stuffing clothes into a duffel bag. He was 18 now, tall and lean, with my grandfather's stubborn jaw. He looked up when I walked in and his eyes were completely empty. Trevor, honey, don't. He zipped up the bag. Just don't. I was wrong. I should have believed you. I should have protected you. I'm so sorry. He stood up and looked at me with those empty eyes. You chose him over me, your own kid. When I needed you most, you picked the man who was hurting me. Tears were streaming down my face. I was scared. I loved him. I didn't want to believe it could be true. Trevor picked up his bag and walked toward the door. Then he stopped and turned around one last time. I told you. You just didn't love me enough to listen. He walked out that day and never came back.